Thank you, Bushebi Jr., for that comprehensive report. And now, in what seems to be a repeat of history in the running of government, we take a look at the similarities and other ways between President William Ruto's move to dissolve his cabinet and the path that the country's third president, the late Kibaki, took when he fired all his ministers and their assistants in 2005, just like his predecessor, who lost in the 2005 constitutional referendum was interpreted as a vote of no confidence in his government. President Ruto has also been under pressure to defend his administration's performance as a section of the electorate escalated their expression of displeasure with his government. Take a listen. After suffering a humiliating defeat in the constitutional referendum on 21st November 2005, the late Kibaki's firm grip on government seemed to have loosened and overwhelmingly no vote galvanized Kenyans' disappointment with Kibaki's leadership 3 years after he took power. These completed the split in his National Rainbow Coalition government NAC, which was made up of the National Alliance Party of Kenya and the Liberal Democratic Party, a sharp split between Raila Odinga's wing, which was campaigning against the constitution, and Kibaki's wing, which lost its push to support the constitution. 57% of voters rejected a draft constitution Kibaki had championed, while only 43% supported it, the vote having been interpreted as vote of no confidence in Kibaki's government, forced a tough decision from the country's third president, who fired all his ministers and their assistants in 2005, except the then Vice President Mudi Awori and the then Attorney General Amos Wako.
Following the results of the referendum, it has become necessary for me, as the President of the Republic, to reorganize my government to make it more cohesive and better able to serve the people of Kenya. Accordingly, in accordance with the powers conferred upon me under the Constitution of Kenya, I have directed that the offices of all ministers and all assistant ministers become vacant. Consequently, the occupants of the said offices cease to hold their respective offices with the immediate effect.
Of the cabinet secretaries who opposed the law argued that it provided the presidency with utmost powers, something that they sought to get rid of, especially following the Daniel Moi regime. On the other hand, supporters of the draft document dismissed the claims of supremacy in the presidency and noted that powers such as appointments will be subject to vetting and approval by Parliament. Despite a wide campaign for the draft constitution, Kibaki failed to convince Kenyans to vote for the draft constitution, with critics saying that the former president sought to ease the tension that succeeded the 2002 elections. At the time, President Ruto, who was in the opposition, said that Kibaki had his work cut out for him to appeal to Kenyans. 19 years later, the Kibaki script played out as President William Ruto dissolved his entire cabinet Thursday afternoon. But in comparison on to Kibaki's short and tough statement, Ruto's statement was long in 11 minutes and 25 seconds. The head of state read 17 paragraphs, part of which was not just the justification for his decision, but also an attempt to defend the government records this far.
Recent events that necessitated the withdrawal of the finance bill, which will require a review and reorganization of our budget and fiscal management, have brought us to an inflection point. Upon reflection, listening keenly to what the people of Kenya have said, and after a holistic appraisal of the performance of my cabinet and its achievements and challenges, I have today, in line with the powers given to me by Article 1521 and 1525B of the Constitution and Sections 12 of the Office of the Attorney General's Act, decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the Cabinet Secretaries and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, of the Cabinet of Kenya, except the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs. And of course, the Office of the Deputy President is not affected in any way. I will immediately engage in extensive consultations across different sectors and political formations and other Kenyans, both in public and private, with the aim of setting up a broad-based government that will assist me in accelerating and expediting the necessary, urgent, and irreversible implementation of the program that we have, including other radical measures and programs.
President Ruto's play to calm the hearts of raging Gen Zs who had threatened to return to the streets mirrored former President Kibaki's move in 2005 when he sacked his entire cabinet days after a national referendum. Kibaki fired a total of 40 ministers, while President William Ruto fired 21 cabinet secretaries, including the Attorney General. The key difference between the constitutional dispensations at the time of dismissal by Kibaki, the president enjoyed the ultimate power to hire and fire at will, but for President William Ruto, terms and conditions apply. For Special Report, Amesh Msimbi.